Alright, so today we have a brow routine, which I've been meaning to film for literally months now. I'm kind of glad I held off because I recently found a product that I'm freaking obsessed with and I mentioned it in this video. I've gotten a lot of questions from you guys on Instagram to do a brow routine, so we're here and we're doing it. I wasn't planning on filming today, but I figured out how to change the brightness on my Sony NX5T and I got really excited and I wanted to film, so now we're filming. I like it. I like it a lot better than the first time I tried it. Thumbs up if you like the whole video being in focus for once. So if you want to see how I get my brows, you're in the right place. Just keep watching. I'm like so close to this ring light right now. So as far as grooming my brows go, I usually just pluck them using these tweezers. I don't know what brand they are, but they're leopard. By default, they're amazing. I have like an at-home wax thing that I probably use every 2 months, but normally I just pluck them, and I've been kind of in the process of reshaping my brows and I feel like they're finally getting to how I wanted them. If you're also trying to reshape your brows, I would just let them overgrow, and then what I did was drew on my brows the shape that I would want them and then plucked around those areas, if that makes sense. That's the easiest way to see, because sometimes if you just go in and pluck without any product on your brows, like I would right now, it's kind of difficult to see the end shape that you want. So I just go ahead and comb through. This also takes out any powder or foundation that got on there. I know a lot of people do their brows first, but I always do my brows after my face makeup is on. I don't know, it's just how I do it. So the first step in my brow routine is going in with a brow gel. This is the Ulta Brow Tint. How freaking great is this? You can actually see what I'm talking about. So this is the Ulta Brow Tint. As you can see, it's a super tiny brush. I also have the Benefit Gimme Brow here, and the brush on this one is actually a tiny bit bigger. I've tried both of these products and I think I'm going to do a whole review comparison of them, but I do like the Ulta Brow Tint a little bit more, and it's like $6 versus like 20 something. I have the shade Deep and it is literally the perfect shade for me. I'm obsessed with this thing. I like to put it on first because I feel like I have to use less brow product afterwards and it just super naturally fills in your brows. I've heard the NYX brow gel is also really good. So I just like to usually start about right here. I don't like to start at the front of my brows because we don't want tons of product to be placed right at the front. So I just kind of go in and follow the natural shape of my brows. I usually don't go too far down on the tail because I like a sharper tail, which is what we're going to do after this. So then whatever is left over, I just put a tiny bit on the front and brush upwards. And if you leave your front kind of untouched, your brows just look a lot more natural and less like penciled in. So as you can see, it does a pretty good job of filling everything in. Some days when I'm just running out to do errands and I don't want to like put my whole brow on, I'll just use the brow gel and it's doable. I'll just extend it a little bit more. I feel like I look green right now. I love this Ulta one because it dries fast, so I can go in directly afterwards with product. So if you get a little splotch like that, sometimes happens, I'll just go back in with my spoolie. Where did I just put that? I'll just go back in with the spoolie and just blend that out. Alright, so then what I do is go in with Anastasia Dipbrow Pomade, and this is in the shade Dark Brown. I have one shade up from this, and it's just a little bit too dark for me. I find that this shade is perfect, and it doesn't have too much red in it. My holy grail eyebrow brush, you need this in your life if you're looking for a good eyebrow brush, is the Sedona Lace 561. It just looks like this. It has a really nice fine point at the end. It just makes doing your brows super easy. I always like to go ahead and clean it off first, so I just take a baby wipe and kind of rub the product off of there. I think the trick with the, I feel like I'm yelling right now. I think the trick with the Dipbrow is kind of the way that you get the product on the brush. Like I used to get way too much on the brush and it just makes your brows look completely penciled in and fake. So what I like to do now is dip my brush in here, and I kind of like to only coat the tip, and then what I do is go into the lid and just kind of go like that and get some of it off and then run it through one time. I don't know why that works for me, but that system just like gets the perfect amount of product on the brush. So since we have like 90% of our brows done right now, all I use Anastasia Dipbrow for is just the tail end, and I feel like that just really cleans everything up. So I just like to get the kind of shape that I like. Sometimes it turns out, sometimes it doesn't. You never really know when you're gonna have a good brow day. So I usually start right at the arch of the brow and just only underline the bottom. I'm just taking a little bit more product. And And it's okay if it's not as sharp as a point that you want it to be, that's why we're gonna go in with concealer afterwards. Once I have the tail kind of filled in how I like it, I just take a tiny bit of whatever's left over in the lid and then follow your natural hairs. And I just like to do super light strokes to fill this part in. So the shape might be a little bit off or not exactly how you like it. I just like to overdo it and then I go back in and clean it up with concealer. So again, just kind of doing short, light strokes following the hair. I usually like to fill in a little bit more arch on the top. So then I usually look straight on at the mirror and see kind of what adjustments I need to make. So once we're done with the dip brow stage, I like to take a concealer. My favorite one to carve out my brows is the NARS Vanilla Concealer. This is perfect for carving out your brows. It's super full coverage. The shade is perfect, matched my skin tone. It's not too light and it's not too dark. It's just easy to work with. It covers up all of the brow product. So I usually just take the doe foot applicator. I just put a little bit on my palette, which is dirty right now because I just did my foundation. You don't need a lot of this at all. It's pretty freaking full coverage. And then the brush I use is the Sedona Lace EB11 brush. It's basically just a round tip concealer brush. Coat both sides of the brush like this and get the tip really good in there. Go ahead and kind of clean up the edges. I usually like to start on the underside. And I'll go in with a little bit for the top. I don't usually like to bring it all the way in. I kind of just do the ends. Alright, so that's basically what I do. Sometimes if I like overdid a little bit with the concealer, I'll just go back in with the brush and just add a tiny bit more color. It is like 50 times harder to do this on camera than when I do it on a daily basis. I feel like I'm gonna fuck something up. Alright, so this is basically how my brows look when they're done. You have your good brow days and you have your not so good brow days. So sometimes I feel like they turn out really great and sometimes it's just not your day, you know? This is what the brows look like with the rest of my makeup on. My makeup details for the rest of my face and eyes and everything will be listed down below in case you want to know. If you guys liked this video and it was helpful for you, give it a thumbs up so I know. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.